Let's try out Rogue Legacy 2, a roguelike game that actually has a lore explanation for why and how you're constantly going in a castle and dying, all while everyone thinks you're the same person. So, this game gives you a diverse arsenal. Each run starts with selecting a heir, each with a weapon, class, spell, talents, and traits. All except traits and class can be changed mid-run, exceptions may apply, and mixing things up gives you bonuses if you can handle the mechanics changing. The variety of, everything allows various playstyles, with skill being more prevalent than luck. Relics are also found in the run, which cost resolve. Relics give you bonuses, but getting your resolve below 100% lowers your max HP. Every time you die, you can use your money to improve your own castle, improving your stats and unlocking new things. I guess that almost every player has their own favorite set of weapons, class, spells, and everything, but the one thing that everyone has are spin kicks, a weak attack that I barely use unless necessary in all my hours of gameplay. So, we're using that one to beat the game. The rules should be simple. The only source of damage must be caused by a spin kick or the environment. This way, if an enemy falls into the water or runs into spikes on their own, it's okay. All damage caused by the player must have spin kicks be directly related to them, meaning that without spin kicks, that damage wouldn't have been dealt. That still leaves a few grey areas. When opening doors, you do damages to enemies near them, so I decided it was okay if it was opened with a spin kick. For the weird mushroom relic, which effectively make an explosion every time an enemy is killed, I was in doubt to let it slide as long as spin kicks were used to attack. However, I drew the line at the loot weapon. It makes projectiles that when spin kicked deal damage in a large area. Although it does technically fit the rule, I still didn't feel personally well using it, so I did. So, given that everything's more limited now, I figured I should make a sort of tier list for everything. Weapons, classes, relics, talents, and all that, as well as analyzing every boss's attacks. So I split everything in 6 ratings. 1. You should take it if you see it. 2. Means it's a good option. 3 means that's only good in specific situations or depends on personal preference. 4 is average, 5 is bad, and 6 is dangerous because it could ruin runs. For classes, I mainly rated their HP. The Assassin gets a 4 for its low HP, the Astromancer gets a 5 for its even lower HP, the Barbarian has a 2 because of its good HP, the Bard gets a 1 because every time it spin kicks, it gains a stack of dance, which can greatly increase damage. The Boxer gets a 2 because of its decent stats and because it doesn't have any contact damage. Chef gets a 4, although it has a low HP, it also has a really good initial talent. Dragonlancer gets a 2 for its good armor buff, Duelist and Gunslinger both get a 4 for its low HP, Knight gets a 2 for a good HP, Mage gets a 5 for its low HP and because it has 2 spells instead of a talent and a spell, and spells won't be used at all. Pirate gets a 2 for its balanced stats, Ranger a 4 for the low HP. The Ronin is the only 3 because it has a lower HP but higher strength, so it depends on how good you are at dodging. And finally the Valkyrie gets a 4 for the low HP. For the spells, all of them are either 3 or 6 because they all have damage potential. Blaze Bellow, Fireball, Flame Barrier are all 6. Free Strike is a 3 because it can be used for destroy projectiles. Fungal Spread is also a 6. Gravity Beam is a 6 because although it can destroy projectiles, it's also way too big to destroy only them. Lightning Storm, Lucent Beam, Magic 8 Ball, Magma Mass, Prismatic Spectrum, Searing Shot are all 6 again. Shield of Thorns is a 3 because it can be used to destroy mid projectiles, but it also damages enemies a lot in contact. Shockwave can also be used to destroy projectiles, but its area of effect is too big. Dazzle Spike and White Star are also 3s, and the Wind Wall is a 3 because although it's very useful for destroying projectiles again, it must be aimed properly. Now, for the traits. They're what really make every run unique, and can greatly improve it or completely screw everything up. Aerodynamic is a 1 because it gives you a really good bonus for spin kick damage. Alexithymia is a 4 because not seeing HP may be difficult for bosses. Algesia is a 3. The lack of immunity windows is awful for someone who can dodge like me, but if you're good, it's a great option. Associative Agnosia is a 5. It darkens every enemy, which makes challenge portals very difficult since they blend in with the background. Bookish is 5 because magic attacks are pretty much useless. Cartographer is a 3 because if you can recognize the room that you're in, it's not a problem. Heir's Magnet is a 2 because of the good discount, not much to say there. Chronic Fatigue Syndrome is a 2 because it gives you really good money bonus and talents and spells won't be used that often. Well, spells won't be used at all. CIP is a 3. It's mostly personal preference, but for me I don't like it because not seeing your HP makes it difficult to decide between healing or more max HP when you're encountering a tree. Clown Atrophy gets a 2. It has lower HP, but it's very useful to not lose the dance buff and makes avoiding hazards easier. Clumsy is a 3 because you get immunity to black spikes, but you can also screw up platforming and saving destructibles for drops later on. Colorblind is a 3 because you can't see any color, so again, personal preference. Combative is a 5 because the bonus weapon damage won't affect spin kicks, so it's only less HP. Compulsive Gambling is a 3. You won't need to beat any enemies or destroy objects for money, but chests also become your only source of money. I personally like to beat every single enemy in every single biome, so I don't like this that much. Compulsive Hoarder is also a 3. You need high resolve, and it's really good if you get good luck with relics. Contrarian is a 2. Changing your weapons and talents should be done pretty often to run for the maximum amount of bonuses, so it's mostly a gold bonus. Crippling Intellect is a 5. It's awful because spells are useless. Disattune makes your hitbox smaller, but also reduces your HP. Again, depends on what you think about it. Diva is a 5, because it's really bad in places with a lot of hazards, especially Axis Mundi and the Sun Tower. Dyspraxia is a 2. The bonus money is really good and you only have to run around to get the items, but it can be really dangerous if you also have the Forgetful trait. Dwarfism is a 4. Smaller hitbox on player makes dodging easier, but spin kicks are also smaller. Ectomorph is a 3. It depends on how good you are at dodging, because the player will be close to enemies all the time. Emotional Dysregularity is a 4 because there's no gain and no loss. Endomorph is a 3 because it depends on your ectomorph stance, since it's the opposite. Exploding Casket Syndrome is a 5 because it will damage the player if an enemy is in a close space, since the player will always be close to an enemy. Fest is a 3 because it's only a team change. FMFN is a bonus money with absolutely no downside. FND is a 2 because spin kicks can also be used while disarmed, so there's effectively no downside. Forgetful is a 4 because it means you have to get drops as soon as they appear. Fungao or Guy is a 3 because it makes your size increase after a health drop, so it's pretty much a temporary gigantism. Gigantism is a 4 because it's the opposite of dwarfism. It has a bigger hitbox for being hit and for spin kicks. Hero Complex is a 3 and depends on your dodging skill. Histrionic is a 2, because since the only damage you will be dealt by spin kicks, only HP percentage matters, so the actual damage that you will be dealing doesn't matter that much. Hollow Bones is a 5 because in open spaces it will make killing enemies take way too long because it will take longer to fall to their own level. Hypercoagulation is a 3. It depends a lot on the dodging skill because every attack will effectively deal the same damage. I personally don't like it because I get hit really often. Hypergonadism is a 4. It doesn't change anything pretty much. IBS is a 6 because the constant farting can damage nearby enemies and therefore ruin the run. IIB muscle fibers are a 2 because they're really good for platforming vertically and reaching high places. Interdimensional is a 4 because although it gives you more money, it can also be awful for large rooms and that have many enemies that use projectiles. Kangantrophy is a 1. It greatly increases spin kick damage but also makes it longer to hit enemies, but it's really good for closed spaces. Limitless is a 5. Mana spells are usually useless and it also probably backfire if you have excess mana, but you can always just use a random spell to lower it. Masochism is a 2. Pretty good bonus and attacking spells won't be used, so there's not much change there. Medium is a 3 because of the team change, just like Festive. Mephemoglobinemia is a 4 because effectively it has no changes in gameplay. Minimalist is a 4. It has no major changes, but it can also be useful with certain antiques that make mana useful. Muscle Weakness is a 2. Since spin kicks don't deal that much knockback, it's mostly a money bonus. Nature is a 4. It's a pretty good detail, but effectively no change in gameplay. Nostalgic is a 3. Again, a major look change, but for a gold bonus. One Hit Wonder is a 5, because you need extreme dodging skill and it's really hard to avoid everything when you can only use spin kicks. Pacifist is a 4. The pretty good money bonus can be reversed with curio shops and gives you the Pacifier trait instead. Unfortunately, the major life debuff stays there. Panic Attacks makes the screen darken near the player, which can be awful when there are a lot of projectiles, but a pretty good money bonus. Paranoid is a 4 because it's impossible to dodge damage if the chests are near roofs. Perfectionist is a 1. It's a pretty good money bonus and no effective change. Puritan is another 3 because of its visual change. Spelunker is a 3. I personally always explore all of the maps, so it's just the HP debuff for me, but if you're only focusing on chests, it's pretty good. Superfluid is a 3. I didn't exactly bother mastering it, but if you do that, it's really useful for mobility and evading. Super IBS is a 4. The talent can be used for vertical movement, but just that. Synesthesia is a 4. It's pretty good to track where projectiles come from, but their trail can always overwhelm the player after a long time in a room. Vampirism is a 5. There's no bonus because you won't be using your weapon. Vegan is a 4. It's a pretty good money buff, but healing is much harder. As for the talents, almost all of them are 3 or 6 because they can deal damage. Bastion is a 3. Pretty good for blocking projectiles but deals contact damage. Combat Roll is good for evading but also deals contact damage, and that's the same thing for Comet Form. Good for platforming also, but again, contact damage. Crescendo is a 6, because although it can destroy projectiles, the AoE is really large. Deflect is a 3. You can spam it for projectiles, but any enemies nearby also get damaged. Immortal Kotetsu is only really useful in a very few situations for platforming. The EV Canopy deals damage on creation, but can be really good for blocking projectiles. The Knockout Punch is only useful for destroying projectiles, but it's still pretty dangerous to use. The Makeshift Explosive is a 6 because again it can also destroy projectiles, but it's pretty hard to use it properly without damaging any enemies. Obscure is the first 2 because it's great for evading and fairy chests, and there's no risk using it. Fireship is a 6. It can block projectiles in a small area, but it's too difficult to use it and not deal any damage. The Shield is a 6. The large area of effect after blocking makes it really hard to use with enemies nearby. The Steel is a 2 because it's great for additional durability. Winter Shout is a 6 because, again, it can destroy projectiles, but the area of damage is really large. As for the weapons, all of them are 6 except the following, which are all 3. The Frying Pan is useful for deflecting projectiles, but it's hard to aim fireballs. The Loot is better than the Frying Pan at blocking projectiles, but can also damage enemies. The Crow Storm is great for mobility, but you should only use it with no enemies nearby. The same can be said for the Dragon Puppet. Kasa Obakim is really good for blocking, but you should also take care to not use it when enemies are nearby. And we finally get to the relics. Achilles Shield is a 2. It gives you bonus damage and high HP. Aida's Grace is 2 because it increases your mobility with an extra jump. Aite's Sword is a 5 because it breaks really easily. Amaterasu Sun is a 5 also because of its high resolve cost and no effect. Ambrosia is a 2. It's really good when there are a lot of projectiles and if you're hit often. Anaki's Grace is just like Aeda's Grace, it's also increased mobility by giving you an additional air dash. Antikythera is 5 as well as the Arcane Necklace because they both have no effect. Atropos Scissors is a 2 for its bonus critical damage. Azura Aegis is a 1 because it can make mana really useful. Body Buffet is a 2 because it makes enemies drop health drops. Boxing Bell is a 5 because it has no effect. Catalyst is a 3. It's only really good with relics that inflict status effects, like Steel-Toed Boots. Charon's Trial is a 3 because it has a really good bonus but it's pretty risky. Cloak of Eventide is really good for waking attacks to pass, calming down and planning. Cloth of Spindle also a 2 for its bonus damage due to increased critical chance. Whale's Shout is a 2 for its additional protection every few enemies killed. Cornucopia is a 2 because of its bonus healing, and has a great synergy with Body Buffet. Corrupting Reagent is the first 6 because it makes dashing dangerous. Cosmic Insight is a 5 because unless you have a relic that makes mana useful, it's useless. Demeter's Trial is a 2 because saving breakables at the start of areas can help greatly with finding a mana potion or a health drop, which immediately purifies it. Diogenes Bargain is a 3 because it's really good for long-term bonuses of class levels. Dreamcatcher is a 5 because it's only really usable with mana relics like Azura Aegis. Empty Vessel is a 2 because it just has good bonuses. Fate's Die is a good insta-kill every 6 enemies, and pretty good if you plan properly with commander enemies, but keep in mind that it doesn't work with bosses. Feather Cap is a 5 because the charge doesn't affect Pancakes. Freon's Reward is a 2 because it gives you healing every chest you open. Glowing Ember also applies to Pancakes, and since you'll be using them a lot, it's easy bonus damage. Gnawed Bone is also a 2 because it gives you HP bonus when eating a health drop when on max HP. Grave Bell is a 4 because I personally don't like its low chance of reviving, but it's still a chance. Hector's Helm is the opposite of Achilles' Shield. It gives you a damage bonus if you're on low in HP. Hermes Boots is a 2 because it helps a lot with fairy chests and hazards. Heron's Ring is 3. It's dangerous and is only really good at low resolve. Hyperion's Ring is effectively a guaranteed revive, so it's a 1. Incandescent Telescope is a 5 because the distance required for the damage bonus is too big, so it basically does nothing. Ivy Roots are a 5 because they have no effect since spin kicks must be done while you're in the air. Ivy Seed is a 5. In personal experience, even though the Ivy Canopies made block projectiles, they're pretty bad. Lachesis Measure is a 2 because although it has a high resolve cost, it's a pretty good and consistent healing since it's easier to trigger a skill crit if you just dash while doing a spin kick. Lamech's Whetstone is a 4. It inflicts a useless status effect and is only really good with Catalyst. Lotus Petal is a 4 because it has no effect unless mana is useful. Lotus Stem depends on class. Assuming you have 150 or more max in MP, it's pretty good for blocking, but otherwise it's useless. Mamon's Bounty is a 3 because it's a huge gamble. You have a risk of getting good relics or a relic that could end the run, as well as several high cost relics which could tank your resolve. You should only take it at the start of the run so not much is at stake. The Marble Statue is a 6 because it makes platforming harder, especially in the Passion Dry Lake, and jumping is dangerous. Monkey Paw is a 4. but only if you have high resolve, since it allows you to reroll relics in each room. Nerdy Glass is a 2 because it removes the effect of several visual ailments that keeps the money bonus. Obelisk is a 2 because it increases the chance of super crit, which is a good damage bonus. Pandora's Trial is a 3 because it's risky but gives a really good resolve bonus. Rage Tincture is a 2 for me because it's really good for reckless playstyles. It has a really good synergy with Ambrosia. Raven's Ring is just like Heron's Ring. It's only good at a low resolve, so it's a 3 for being risky. The Red Sand Hourglass is a 5 because the damage bonus doesn't apply to spin kicks. Circuit Stinger, again, a 5 because there's no effect. Silk Slippers are a 1. The Dance buff gives you a really good spin kick damage bonus. Skeleton Key is a 3 because it's best for getting new runes, otherwise it has a pretty high resolve cost. Soul Tether, again, a 5 because it doesn't affect spin kicks. Star Sling is a 6 because it makes using talents dangerous. Steel-toed Boots are 1 because of the great damage bonuses. Tattered Rope is a 3. It has a really good resolve bonus, but depends on how good you are at dodging hazards. The Future Successor's Bargain is a 3 because it's really good when you find it and use it later on the game when you're about to die. The Heavystone Bargain is a 5 because it only applies to weapons. The Icarus Wings Bargain is a 4 because it gives you a really good mobility bonus, but it can be pretty dangerous if any hazards are nearby. The Serrated Handles Bargain is a 3 because you deal and receive twice as much damage. The Transmogrificator is a 1 because it's a great resolve and damage bonus, and the changes applied shouldn't change that much. The Vanguard's Banner is a 6 because it makes dashing dangerous, even though it can be used to destroy projectiles. The Voltaic Circlet is a 5 because, again, no effect. Wardrum is a 1. It makes all no effect relics useful and a huge damage bonus if you have a high resolve. Weighted Anklet is another 1 because it just gives you really good bonus damage. The Weird Mushrooms are also 1 because it's really good for packed enemies. If you kill one, you probably kill all of them. Whitebeard is a 4 because it's only good if synergies like mana being useful or the Catalyst. Zealot's Ring, another 5 with no effect. Now for the runes. Lifesteal and Soulsteal both get a 2 because they're good for healing. Sharpen, Focal, Might, and Elder all have no effect, so 5. Lucky Roller and High Stakes are both 4 because even though you're focusing on skill crits and the damage bonus is good, getting a super crit still has a pretty low chance. Siphon's a 5 for having no effect. Capacity is a 3 because it's only good with mana synergies. Amplification is a 3 because it's only good if you manage to apply status effects with spin kicks, like with the Steel-toed Boots. The Trick is only good with many synergies as well, so again 3. Reinforced and Folded Rune give you great armor buffs, as well as increasing the max amount of damage that your armor can block. Quenching is a 1. It counters armor shredder enemies and gives you a good healing. Retaliation is a 6 because countering damage pretty much ends the run. Magnesis is a 4 because it makes collecting drops easier, but I wouldn't make that a priority. Bounty is a 2 because it's bonus gold. Stone and Red are both 4s because they give you bonus ore and Aether, but it's only really good if you want a specific armor piece or rune. Resolve is a 2 because it allows you to get more relics. Haste, Dash, and Vault all give you more mobility, so they also get a 2. As for the blessings, they all get a 1 because you should get as much of them as possible. They will increase damage, and the Blessing of Talent will also give you bonus resolve. Now for the bosses. First off, Lamech. Staying above him and spamming spin kicks lets you avoid a significant amount of the attacks. The Spear Sweep has him move sideways with the spear, so just dash and keep spin kicking to avoid that. The Sword Attacks has a hitbox that's only to his sides, so there's no danger if you stay directly above him. The Gravity Beam attack has a huge area of effect, but it's only to the sides, so you should stay safe above him. The Dagger Throw is the first attack that should dodge. He throws several daggers in a line 3 times, so dash away and time your jumps properly to avoid them. The Axe Jump is pretty sudden, so as soon as you notice it, dash to the opposite direction and be careful with the falling projectiles. The Staff attack creates a lot of projectiles from the staff, so you should dash away immediately and time your jumps properly to avoid them. Axis Mundi, you have Biarif and Halfar. Halfar only appears after Biarif gets put to half HP, so you should only focus on one after that. If both of them are close to each other, you should try to hit both of them at the same time, but it makes it harder for predicting attacks. They only have 3 attacks as well. Bone Spin, which makes a huge projectile that moves sideways, so there's no danger if you stay above them. Bone Throw throws bones in an arc, and if you only stay directly above them, you should be safe. And Jump, you should only move away from them when they do so. As for Nama, always stay near and spam spin kicks. Only interact with the Middle Nightmare in the second phase. She has a Resonant Jellyfish Sweep attack, which makes several resonant projectiles that look like jellyfish. They can move horizontally or vertically. If the movement is horizontal, staying near the ceiling and taking out top ones creates an easy to pass safe space, and if it's vertical, don't move to the sides and just spin kick them, then fall to safety. She can also do a similar attack which makes 2 of those projectiles that follow you. Given that you'll always be spamming spin kicks, they'll probably be taken care of automatically. Her charge attack is slow and predictable, which makes her move faster and creates fireballs when she stops. When you notice it, dash away and don't attack for a while, just dodge the fireballs. The fire blasts are just like the resonant jellyfish sweep attacks, but with safe spaces. It's pretty easy to dodge them if you're only focusing on them. If you're horizontal, you also need to time your jumps. As for Murmur, he only has effectively 2 attacks. Either a void wave that must be dashed through, or resonant orbs that you must spin kick in order to pass through them. Right after you enter the portal, try to move through him as fast as possible. Walking back and dashing properly allows you to easily dodge all projectiles. When you get to him, don't stay too close to him so you have time to react. The gong heads are the other mini-boss of the Stygian study. Killing one first is safer but takes longer. Hitting both at the same time is faster but also makes it harder to dodge their attacks. They can make 3 cursed projectiles right above their heads, so need a quick reaction time and take care with the spikes on the roof. It's best to only focus on the projectiles and then attacking the gong heads. They can also dash to the other side of the room, similar to Lamech's spear attack. There's no danger if you stay above them and spin kicking. The jump attack also makes them move to the other side of the room and makes magma balls that fall. If you're directly above them, nothing can hit you. The spear throws make them throw 2 spears at the player. Moving a bit to the sides is an easy way to avoid it. If the gong heads at the other side of the room, there's no danger since the spears are affected by gravity. After beating both these mini-bosses, you unlock Enoch. Cursed Blast makes several areas that you should avoid, then 1 slow cursed projectile will appear from each one of them. Do not focus on Enoch at first and only avoid these areas. Then, the cursed projectile should be taken care of automatically if you spam spin kicks on Enoch. The Void Circle makes several void orbs around the player, which approach them quickly. It's pretty easy to dodge with a properly timed dash. The Shockwave marks a large area around Enoch and then launches fireballs in all directions. Go away from him, and the larger the distance, the easier it is to dodge all projectiles. His charge attack makes him stop for a while and then dash to the player. He's not that fast, so if you just stop attacking him and dodge a bit, it's pretty easy to avoid. The Eye Blasts make him stop moving and then launch a lot of fireballs in the general direction of the player, followed by void waves. The farther you are, the easier it is to dodge, but just remember to dash at the end. The pillar attack marks a vertical area that is blocked and deals damage when touched. Just move a bit horizontally and stay away from it, since it stays there for a while. A lot of people think that Enoch's a pretty easy battle, and they're right because the battle's not over. True Estuary Enoch only has 3 attacks, however. The Explosive Spit makes him launch explosive bottles. Don't attack and stay on the ground, just move to dodge them. The run attack is when you should attack. This run attack has him running through the arena, leaving poison coins behind. You should alternate between spin kicking and dashing, which will let you deal damage and also avoid damage from the coins on the floor. His jump is the most dangerous attack. The speed and height he jumps varies a lot, so you have to time your spin kicks properly or stay on the floor and focus on dodging if you want to play it safe. After climbing the Sun Tower, you fight Irid. At 50% HP, the third eye joins the battle, but only its Fire Blast and Void Waves attacks are a threat. The Resonant Projectiles makes 2 Resonant Orbs that follow the player. Constant spin kicks make them barely a threat. The same can be said for the Cursed Projectiles. The Fire Blast makes them fire several fireballs around the eye. It's possible to dodge them without changing platforms, and timed dashes and jumps makes it pretty easy to dodge all damage. But you still shouldn't focus on attacking Irid during this attack. Void Waves make slow void waves around the eye, so you should just dash through them, but be careful to not dash into Irid. The Shockwave attack deals damage around the eye. There's no point in trying to attack the eye, so just go to another one. If all of them use that, use a double jump in the middle and you should be safe. Before you can fight True Ball in the Passion Dry Lake, you need to fight 4 mini-bosses this time. Gaigis, the Axe, and Aegaon the Shield. Gaigis can use the Fire Burst, which fires fireballs at random directions and also makes 4 fire blasts at the 4 cardinal directions. Staying away is the safest option. The follow attack spins and follows the player. It's relatively safe to attack during it, but be careful to not be cornered. As for Aegaon, the charge attack makes it move quickly horizontally, leaving damaging eyes behind. As long as you stay above or below it, you should be fine. The ricochet attack, just like other shield enemies, makes it launch itself into a direction and change directions every time it's hit, so it's pretty hard to predict its movement, so stay away from it. Then you fight Kotus and Briareus. Kotus can use a dagger throw, which makes it stay still and launch several daggers at the player. As long as you're constantly moving, it should be fine. The charge attack dashes toward the player, and when it stops, it fires resonant projectiles at diagonals, repeating it a few times. Again, constantly moving helps. Briareos, the hammer, can spin, which makes it move horizontally, and make magma balls that fall. Those can be launched up a bit before falling, so it's best to jump above it and dash. The shockwave attack makes it stay still and deals damage in an area around it. There's no much need to go too far from it, but it's impossible to damage it during the attack. In general, for these 4 bosses, it's best to focus on the other boss if one is attacking. And after those 4, you have Chubal, a boss that finally has 3 phases. The orb that follows the player at the second phase can be annoying, so you should consider it stop attacking Chubal just to lure it to another place and avoid it. His anvil attacks make him stop and hammer his anvil, dealing damage around him and summoning 4 enemies that remain invincible for a while. But on his back there's a safe area that lets you spin kick on him. Kill the enemies as soon as possible when they're vulnerable. The hammer swing attack makes saws that move on the floor. Going behind him and spin kicking avoids both the attack and the saws. The jump attack makes swords fall after he lands, so you should back away and then keep attacking. There's some space for you to see incoming swords and avoid them properly, but you can also stay on the floor if you want to play it safe. The Void Waves attack makes 2 Void Waves to the sides, so you should just back away a bit and then dash through the waves. The Hammer Slam attack has him stay still and hammer the ground, making the floor damage the player and dealing damage directly above him. Stay away and kind of in the diagonal to avoid the ground and keep spin kicking him. His Cursed Projectiles attack makes several cursed projectiles that follow the player but don't go through walls. Simply going to the other side will make the projectiles ram themselves into the ceiling or floor. And finally, you fight the knight that you see all the time, Jonah. His attacks mostly involve weapons, talents, and spells that you have. He can use the Labyrinth to jump and spin on it, twice. You should focus on dodging and dashing away. The Immortal Kotetsu makes him stop for a while and draw the sword. This can only be avoided with a Void Dash, so don't try to damage him and only focus on dashing. Charon's Scythe makes him move sideways, so just jumping above him should be enough. The Warbow makes him fire 3 arrows while standing still or jumping. The arrows follow gravity, which make him harder to dodge. The Pepperoni Pizza makes him stand on ground or jump, then throw pizzas above him and on the sides, which stay still and then follow the player. Spin kick the pizzas before they go to you and then go back to attacking Jonah. The Lightning Storm marks several areas in which you will deal damage. Stay in the safe area closest to him and keep attacking. The Bag of Spoons has him throw 5 spoons which all bounce once. A safe spot is near the central spoon. And finally you fight the Immortal King, Cain, which is also your brother. Yeah, there's a lot of lore in this game, but I'm only focused on how to be in the worst way possible. So you should look up another video if you're interested on the lore. Each one of his kills has 2 variants, which I named Light and Dark. In his first phase, he only used light variants. In his second, only the dark. In the third, he keeps alternating between them. His jump attack makes him jump high and swing a sword on landing, making several magma balls that fall nearby. Just dash away when you see him jumping and stay on the floor to dodge the magma balls. The swing attack is just like one of Briareth's. He throws a huge X-shaped bone and several smaller ones, but staying directly above him avoids all damage. The staff attack is similar to Lamech. It spawns several bolts in the staff above him, but they all follow the player. You should stay as far away as possible and jump on the right time. The shockwave attack marks an area and fires projectiles around and away from it. You have to stay in that area to avoid damage. You can also stay very far away from it, but I wouldn't recommend it. His charge attack is like Murmur, making 2 waves of resonant orbs. The first must be dodged by staying near the ceiling, and the second one is a short jump. As for the dark variants, the dark jump makes him jump and use an axe, making 2 sets of saws that stay on the floor, one being really quick and the other slower. Dash away and then spin kick on him to avoid the saws. The swing attack makes 2 resonant jellyfishes with void orbs in them. Both projectiles need to be spin kicked and then dash through. The staff attack makes the ground deal damage to the player, and then spawns 3 resonant projectiles. Stay above and to the side of Cain and keep spin kicking so you can handle these projectiles safely. The shockwave attack is the opposite. It marks an area that will deal damage in it and then fire fireballs from it. Stay on the ground away from it and it will be pretty easy to dodge all these fireballs. Finally, the charge attack will make 2 void waves to the sides. The spacing between them is pretty large, so you can either dash through both of them at once or dash through the first one, walk away a bit and then dash again. I still have to say though that I did cheat a lot through my normal playthrough. I lost my patience and just started using my weapons and spells to get through all the enemies quickly. I also died too much, so ended up investing my cast way more than I should have. So I think that my stats were pretty high for the battles. But still, here's how I beat every single boss, following the rules, of course. you.